Well, guys, we are back to another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show. As it's been a while since we were back, had to take care of some stuff last week, so I couldn't do it. So today's topics are vlog.
Alright, we have bullshit attacks on Kyle and Andrew Yang, mocking idiots denying COVID, DC statehood, probably the first topic we're going to cover, Israel-Palestine again, Marjorie Taylor Greene harassing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, some stuff about the two-state solution that Harry wants to do, and Bernie Sanders warning Democrats against another tax cut.
Alright, So the first thing we want to talk about is the Israel-Palestine conflict, which started up again a few days ago, as this has been a conflict that's been going since right the end of World War II, and start up again. This is the worst it's been since 2014, and you're not going to believe it. I'm sure you two already know how it started, but for all of you who didn't know, this started because of Israeli settlements again, as they're kicking out Palestinians from their lands. Just like how, we did with the Native Americans and all that. But of course, when Israel does it, it's okay. But if the Palestinians want to defend themselves, oh no, that is wrong, So of course,
it's much except they genocide peacefully.
Yep. So of course,
it's anti-Semitic to oppose the far-right Israeli government genociding the Palestinians.
How did you know that? But Palestine has been defending trying to defend themselves. Hamas has been firing rocks and rockets into Israel, which of course Israel can defend themselves if they have Iron Dome. But of course, the media only talks about it when Hamas attacks Israel, not the other way around. And more importantly, they never talk about what originates the conflict, because Palestine, Hamas, and all of them, they're just evil terrorists that never just do shit they never just do shit without reason. It's all just out of nowhere. You know that, guys, right?
Well, that's what the idiots of the government say.
Yeah, Vosh actually talked about it too. I'm going to go get that video up too. So anything you two want to say about why I find it?
Well, I can say that in the Australian media, they do at least mention that a lot of Palestinians are dying as well. They do mention the Palestinian side, and they have mentioned the settlements and an incident at one of the mosques that triggered this off. So they're a bit more balanced, at least the ABC.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I think it was either Ramadan or another Islamic holiday going on, and Palestinians are. What were you saying?
Eid or something similar. I can't remember the exact name.
But they wanted to do a massive gathering, and Israel's been cracking down on it. And that was another thing that caused it too, along with kicking out more people from their homes.
I think that was Ramadan. I think the holiday. I think it's Ramadan, but I'm not sure. I think it's Ramadan.
All right. Well, first off, do you hear Vosh?
I get accused of leaving out this or that. So we're going to do something egregiously and obnoxiously.
Because Vosh can go on the Wikipedia article about this, so we can read for ourselves. Okay?
We are going to directly read a Wikipedia article. That is right, people. We are cutting right through the thick of the matter, and we're just going to look directly at the Wikipedia article. Because every time I try to synthesize or construct, everyone, you miss that, you do that. We're just going to look at the Wikipedia article, okay? That's what we're going to do. Wait, Vosh, you can read a secret skill that I've planned out for this exact moment. I understand a lot of you are going to find this uninteresting. You're an idiot. This is extremely important. Please pay attention, okay? You can edit the article. If anything I'm about to say is factually inaccurate, then I encourage people to email me afterwards, and I will amend my statements in a future video. Ongoing clashes began on the 6th of May between Palestinian protesters and Israeli police over a planned decision of the Supreme Court of Israel regarding evictions of Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah, East Jerusalem. Please do not get on my case for any mispronunciation during the stream. I will try my best. The violence, which coincided with the holiday of Laylat al-Qadir and Jerusalem Day, has injured more than 300 people, mostly Palestinian civilians. The attacks drew international condemnation and resulted in the delay of the Supreme Court ruling by 30 days as Aviaki Mandelblit, Attorney General of Israel, sought to reduce tensions. On 9th of May, Israeli police stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a major holy site to Muslims, ahead of a flag march by far-right Jewish nationalists that was later cancelled. So I want to clarify this entirely, okay? Imagine if you had, an indigenous protest, or, not even a protest, if you had, an indigenous holiday that was going to be marched upon by, the Charlottesville crowd, and before Charlottesville got there, the National Guard came in to clear out the Native Americans.
Yeah, that's wrong.
In response, on the 10th and 11th of May, Hamas and Islamic Jihad fired over 400 rockets into Israel, hitting homes and a school, killing 2 Israeli civilians and injuring at least 70 Israeli civilians. Israel responded with airstrikes into Gaza, and according to Gaza officials, at least 24 Palestinians, including 9 children, were killed, and 103 more were wounded. According to the IDF, at least 15 of those killed were members of Hamas, and many others were killed by Palestinian rockets. So this is editorialization on my part. I don't believe the IDF for 1 nano fucking second, okay?
Yeah.
So we have independent assessments saying 2 Israeli civilians were killed, and that almost all the people they killed in retaliation were Hamas, and then you have the IDF saying, actually, way more Israeli citizens were killed, and actually, no. I do not believe so. Let's get some background on this. So one of the issues that I often find arises in conversations about the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian people is that Israel does something really fucking shitty, and a bunch of people criticize Israel for it, which is fine. But then people who like Israel will say, well, look at the shitty thing the Palestinians did beforehand. So to me, this is an extremely unproductive back and forth, and makes about as much sense as people saying, look at this thing, shitty thing a cop did. And the conservative says, oh yeah? Well, look at the thing the black person did beforehand. That's about what it feels like to me. The problem is that whether you like it or not, Israel is responsible for the situation that both of these states are in right now, Palestine and Israel. It's not like the Palestinians chose this situation. They're not the ones who put them in the position that they're in right now. They're not the ones who control the interaction or the engagement, the discourse. They're not the one backed by the most powerful military force on the planet. Israel has all the power, and Israel pushed the Palestinian people into a position where violence was an inevitable consequence of what's going to take place. For Christ's sake, the Palestinians live in an open-air concentration camp, okay? You seriously think there wasn't going to be violence in this situation? Only one power has the power there. Only one power has the power.
And have their land stolen and being oppressed.
And it is not the Palestinian people.
Yep.
If the Palestinian people throw up arms, they say no more violence in 100 years, there will no longer be any Palestinian people. Because the Israeli genocide, their people will continue slowly, bit by bit, their culture, their land will be gobbled up, and they will be gone. If the Israeli people throw their arms up and they say, all right, we're done, we're not doing this anymore, you know what happens? A two-state solution, and the continued existence of both groups. That's the reason why I'm predominantly critical of Israel. It's not because the Palestinian people don't do bad things. They do. Hamas does bad things. They fire rockets at school, filled with Israeli civilians. There's no getting around that. Hamas is not a good organization. It's not a good group. But even Hamas has said that they would support a two-state solution, something Israel is unwilling to back. Even the terrorists of the Palestinians are more amicable to compromise than the organized government elected by the Israeli people. Of course, everything I'm saying is highly, highly nuanced. Way more complicated than I'm giving a justification here. But I want you all to understand, at Vosh, you know that Hamas would not settle for peace? And we have a lot of people with really strong opinions on the extent to which both groups are sincere in their attempts to push for peace. Hamas supported a two-state solution as a transitional state for them taking over all of Palestine, though. Israel never should have been built there, buddy. You really blame Hamas for saying they want to reclaim land that 70 years ago belonged to their people? The point is, in the immediate moment, right now, they're more amicable to that position than Israel is. That's not to say they don't do bad things. That's not to say they're not a terrorist organization. Israel is the group with the power to amend the situation, and they choose not to. Polls done amongst Israeli civilians show, and I'm being charitable here, a very harsh attitude towards the Palestinian people. Bosh, they would kill all Jews if they could. Israelis would not. I strongly disagree with your perspective, but I know that if I start arguing with Zionists in chat, we're going to go on this forever. Let's focus back on the situation.
Why they would have genocided the Palestinians
with my history, Zionists would be
already.
But that's okay. Hopefully you will take the opportunity to expand your understanding of this issue. The disputed land was bought by Jewish trusts from Arab landowners in 1876. In 1956, the Jordanian government, in cooperation with the United Nations Organization for Refugees, housed 28 Palestinian refugee families with tenancy rights in a compound on land that Jordan managed as custodian of enemy property, and which formerly belonged to these Jewish trusts. God, this stuff is complicated. After the Six-Day War, the area fell under Israeli occupation. Speaking of things we can complain about on behalf of Israel, Jesus. In 1972, the Israeli Custodian General registered properties under the Jewish trusts, which in turn demanded the Palestinian tenants there pay the trusts rent. Eviction orders began to occur in the 1990s. The Jewish trust sold the homes to a right-wing settler organization, who have since made repeated attempts to evict the Palestinian residents. I just don't know how in any situation you can feel anything for the Palestinians here but empathy, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Under Israeli property laws, Israeli have the right to reclaim properties in East Jerusalem owned by Jews before the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, but no similar law exists that would allow Palestinians to claim their lost property inside Israel during the Nakba. The Nakba, you should probably know about this, also known as the Palestinian catastrophe, was the destruction of Palestinian society and homeland in 1948, and the permanent displacement of the majority of the Palestinian people. The foundational events of the Nakba took place during and shortly after the 1947 to 1949 Palestinian War, including 78% of the geopolitical entity then known as Palestine being declared as Israel. Can you really blame Palestinians for being a little salty? 4/5 of their country got Thanos snapped into Israel. The exodus of 700,000 Palestinians, the related depopulation and destruction of over 500 Palestinian villages, and subsequent geographic erasure, the denial of the Palestinian right of return, the creation of permanent Palestinian refuges, and the shattering of Palestinian society. Again, Israel are not the victims of...
Yeah, you can't defend this. Frame wants to defend Israel. You just can't defend this. This is like no different than what we did with the Native Americans and all that. You can't steal land from people to try and build a Jewish homeland. I'm sorry. You just can't. And World War II is not a valid excuse, because that was like one of the main reasons where to go. Just take them as refugees in other countries. Don't steal land from other places. I mean, that's shit too that the Nazis did. They stole
land from the creation of Israel. You should have taken a bit of land from Germany and Italy.
Or just take refugees everywhere around the world. I'm sure America could have taken a whole bunch of them, probably.
Yeah, but that's also part of the reason why, the two-state solution is no longer actually fair and valid, because Israel took so much fucking land from Palestine that they're at this point. That's why I want to watch the video that I linked, because Ryan Kyle actually explains perfectly why a one-state solution is better, because over time, Israel has done way too much fucking shit and way too much fucking settlements. So I would argue a one-state solution is better for that reason. But we gotta watch the video for a better analysis. If you have something after this, yeah. And
still gotta watch this video.
The Trail of Tears, okay? You people who are on Israel's side of this conflict, it's
like like Vosh said, this is equivalent to the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
So no, don't defend this. This is just wrong. End of discussion.
Crying crocodile tears for American settlers in the 19th century after the displacement of Native Americans. It's unbelievable that people would ever, under any sort of... You know there were Native American raids on American villages, right? I guess the Americans should have genocided more. This is an insane logic to me. Anyway, it's not good. Sidetracked. The inequality of treatment of property rights that has been deemed unacceptable in international law by the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research, and furthermore, some analysts argue that the precedent set by these measures to resume Jewish property rights in Jerusalem would open the gate for Palestinians to claim entitlement to the restitution of their properties in West Jerusalem. Look at that. The analysts are arguing that if they allowed the Israelis the leeway they want, that it would give the Palestinians a legal precedent to start reclaiming territory in West Jerusalem. Vosh, well, okay, but are you supporting Native American separatism now because of that history? You know what, dog? If right now there was an ongoing border conflict between America and open-air concentration camps, including Native American people, I wouldn't be supporting Native American separatism. I'd be encouraging Native American reconquest of the Americas. Yeah. Oh yeah, including your flat in whatever fucking Bay Area city you live in. Yeah, absolutely, okay? They will crawl across the United States in a wave of tanks and reclaim their ancestral territories from you and you specifically, okay? You first. I don't care where in America you live, okay? Your house is being designated.
Can't wait to make fun of Vosh's comments later on tonight.
Okay? And then they can sort out the rest of it.
Oh,
We will make them
boy.
colonizers. No, my positions on Native American land back issues right now are informed first and foremost by pragmatism. The issue is, if you took Native American reservations and made them like independent nations right now, they would just starve. The necessary economic infrastructure hasn't been set up to afford them the ability to engage in like a emancipatory action. So that's probably not the right direction to go like there. But yeah, in the case of the Palestinian people, that was their whole country within a lifetime ago. There are people in Palestine alive today who remember back when they had the whole country and now they have their little fenced-in area. You know, this is a very immediate thing currently happening. But the end goal is open borders, correct? Of course, absolutely.
And here's another thing too. What do you want them, the Palestinians, to do when you steal their homes, their land, and oppress them? What do you want them to do that's acceptable to your eyes? Because you don't accept anything else they do. And what happens if someone stole your house? You probably would defend it violently too. That's what they're doing. Why is that so hard for you to understand? And also, if you didn't steal their land, which you're doing right now, this conflict right now wouldn't have flared up. So yeah, it is Israel's fault for this. Sorry.
Absolutely. All right, what are we doing? Anyway, in 2010, the Supreme Court of Israel rejected an appeal by Palestinian families who had resided in housing units in the area of Sheikh Jarrah, East Jerusalem, who had petitioned the court to have their ownership of the properties recognized. In 2021, we're catching up now, Israel's Supreme Court was expected to deliver a ruling on whether to uphold the eviction of 6 Palestinian families from the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of East Jerusalem on the 10th of May. Getting real close right now. Itamar Ben-Gvir, this piece of shit, a far-right Israeli politician, visited Sheikh Jarrah shortly before the clashes began, where he said the houses belonged to Jews and told police to open fire on protesters. There you go. Agents France Presse reported that Israeli settlers had been seen in Sheikh Jarrah openly carrying assault rifles and revolvers, leading to the clashes. Previous clashes had begun following the Israeli government's closure of the Damascus Gate, a popular place for Muslims to gather during Ramadan, and when the Israeli government imposed a 10,000-person limit on people praying at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Palestinian protests were also frustrated with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' decision to postpone the 2021 Palestinian legislative election, believing he had done so to avoid political defeat for his party Fatah. This is a whole other story and a whole other complicated thing, okay? Here we go. We're on it now. Palestinians and Israeli settlers first clashed on the 6th of May and were broken up by the intervention of the Israeli police, who arrested at least 7 people. Further clashes continued at Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society said 136 people were wounded across Jerusalem that evening, and the Israeli government said 6 police officers were also wounded. More clashes occurred on the 8th of May, on the day of the Islamic holy night of Laylat al-Qadr. Palestinian crowds threw stones, lit fires, and chanted, "Strike Tel Aviv," and "In spirit and blood we will redeem Al-Aqsa," which the Times of Israel described as in support of Hamas. I like how the Wikipedia article said that it was the newspaper who described it in support of Hamas, rather than saying it was something supporting Hamas, because saying they want to redeem the mosque that they've been legally barred from attending as they previously were, I don't know if that's necessarily support of Hamas, you know? The Israeli police were in riot gear and some on horseback used stun grenades and water cannons. At least 80 people were injured. On the morning of the 9th of May, getting to it now, Israeli forces stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third holiest site, injuring hundreds. Palestinians threw rocks, firecrackers, and heavy objects. God, this, if anything, sums up the Palestinian-Israeli military divide right here. Listen to this sentence. Palestinians threw rocks, firecrackers, and heavy objects, while Israeli police fired stun grenades, tear gas, and rubber bullets at worshippers. Okay. The storming came ahead of the
Yes,
Jerusalem
another thing too. There's a massive power imbalance between them too. They act like fucking Palestinians are gonna do anything to Israel. They're not. Jesus Christ.
March by Jewish nationalists through the Old City. At least 215 Palestinians were injured, 153 of them were hospitalized. Militants in Gaza fired rockets into Israel during the night. There you go. During the evening and night of the 10th of May, riots erupted in blood. An Arab mob threw stones and firebombs at Jewish homes in the city. This is bad. Attacked a school and a synagogue. This is bad. And set fires. This is bad. A Jewish resident shot Arab rioters, killing 1 and wounding 2. The mob later attacked the hospital where he and others injured were evacuated to. On the 10th of May, Hamas fired more than 150 rockets into Israel from Gaza. The IDF said 7 rockets were fired toward Jerusalem and Beit Shemesh, and that 1 was intercepted. An anti-tank missile was also fired at an Israeli civilian vehicle, injuring the driver. That's not good. Israel launched airstrikes into the Gaza Strip on the 10th of May. That was yesterday. 26 Palestinians were killed, 9 of whom were children, and 103 more were wounded. A Hamas commander.
And that's another thing too. The deaths have been overwhelmingly disproportionate too. And if you didn't hear recently, like they just did an airstrike on a building that hosts like journalists too. If you didn't hear about that.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
There was another one that killed like 150 Palestinians in one strike.
Yeah. This is not proportional. This is just brutal, oppressive violence.
Identifies Mohammed Abdullah Fayyad, as well as 2 high-ranking Islamic Jihad commanders, were also killed. According to the IDF, a number of the Palestinians killed, including 3 of the children, were killed by errant rockets fired by Hamas, not by airstrikes, and that at least another 15 of those killed were members of Hamas, who were launching rockets or firing anti-tank missiles at Israel. However, the victims died when the Israeli strikes were carried out. So this would take a while for me to substantiate, but over the past 2 years of looking at stuff from Israel, I think the IDF lies a lot. Like, a lot. Whenever there are conflicts between Israel and the Palestinians, they propagandize so fucking hard, so aggressively, and independent journalists are constantly catching them out on it, and nothing ever happens. On the 11th of May, Hamas and Islamic Jihad responded to the Israeli raids, launching hundreds of rockets at Ashdod and Ashkelon, killing 2 people and wounding more than 70 others. Hamas claimed they were firing their largest ever barrage, firing 137 rockets in 5 minutes. And know them for effort in Connect, I guess. So what do we have to say about all this, okay? Well, first of all, I don't want what I say right now to be conflated as a defense for Islamic jihadists or for Hamas, because I think that those organizations are largely destructive. That being said, I also believe that there are plenty of criminal organizations in, say, American inner cities which are destructive. That does not mean that ultimately the blame does not fall upon our politicians and criminal justice system for facilitating the systems which allowed these things to emerge. At the end of the day, it is people in power who guide the lives of those around them, not the victimized. America guided the conflict between the Native Americans and us, the colonizers. Israel guides the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian people. If they truly wanted peace, there were many things that Israel could have done over the past several decades and could do today to bring about peace. But Israel does not want peace. Israel wants the systemic elimination of the Palestinian people, whether by death or the seizure of their land or their exile. Slowly but surely, Israel would take over, like the machine. You know, what's it? The constantly replicating what are they? Nanobots? Like a mold or something. Or just cover it. The gray goo scenario. Just cover the whole thing. And that is unacceptable to me. What is happening to the Palestinian people is undeniably a genocide. Now, thankfully, because I'm not a fucking idiot, it is possible for me to believe that the Israeli government is committing a genocide against the Palestinian people, and also believe that Israeli citizens, the beating heart, living people in Israel, deserve to live comfortable and safe lives. I believe both groups do. The only entity in the world, the only entity in the universe with the power to bring about that peace is Israel. That's it. The Palestinians do not have this power. For them, acquiescence means death.
Yeah.
Slow death, but definitely.
And that's another thing too. If they did not do anything, they would eventually be exterminated. You don't. All the people defend Israel.
They will be genocided pretty much just about no matter what they do. The far-right Israeli government has stated multiple times that they want to genocide the Palestinians.
Yeah, Israel is not the innocent party here. You need to get for your damn heads.
Nonetheless, Israel has the power. And if you are truly, by the way, in favor of peace here, if you're truly in favor of some sort of amicable, both sides, we should all be happy, etc., then this should be a no-brainer to you. But unfortunately, as some people in chat have...
And of course, I think we're going to stop right here because it's going to involve Andrew Yang, which we're going to be talking about later, so I don't want to spoil that. So, what do you all got to say about this so far? We need to just pressure Israel to stop, for God's sake. But of course...
The funding. Simple as that.
Yep. As of course, you guys support BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. But of course, remember, we're anti-Semitic for pointing that out, guys. Remember that?
Anti-Semitic for opposing Israel genociding the Palestinians, remember?
It's a fucking joke, yeah. At this point, just a fucking joke.
Idiots.
Anything we say anti-Semitic, it's a fucking joke at this point, like, for fuck's sake.
Anything else you want to say before we get to the one Kyleville Perry posted, since his same thing, the same topic?
Yeah, it's related, yeah.
Alright, so I guess we'll go to that. So, of course, Rania Khalek, who is an awesome journalist at covering the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, went on Crystal and Kyle and Friends' show recently to talk about it, and this was the one video Harry wanted to bring up, so we're gonna watch it. Let me go get the link.
So, let's talk a little bit about solutions, and Crystal and I were discussing this earlier today. So I used to support the idea of a two-state solution because I thought it was real. I thought it was an actual thing. But then, you can only watch the peace process drag on for so long before you realize that, wait, what if the whole point of talking about the two-state solution and the peace process is to buy time, so you could keep evicting Palestinians from their land and ethnically cleansing them, which is effectively what it is. That's what's happening. So since the two-state solution is fake, and also, by the way, even in a two-state solution, you'd still have an ethno-state and a theocracy, which I'm against in principle. So then the only solution is sort of like in apartheid South Africa, you get rid of apartheid and you have one democratic state. I guess that's the least bad option, but the thing that I'm worried about is like there really is like a deep-seated hatred on both sides. That's something the likes of which I'm not sure we've ever seen. I don't even know if South Africa can compare with what happened, because you have this figure in Nelson Mandela and others who sort of, as a matter of principle, argued for like nonviolence is always the way, and this view.
This is actually something people point out in Kyle's video that he was not really well thought out on. Mandela was actually part of a far left militia group to fight against the oppression that apartheid had. If you two didn't know that.
Yeah, I think I remember reading about
so
that.
So Mandela wasn't this peaceful person for his entire existence. Back like in the 50s and 60s, he was part of a militia.
Oh, wow.
To defend himself.
More like Malcolm X than Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
View was almost like.
And I think Rania pointed out to Kyle because I didn't watch the whole video yet.
Agree with that view. I mean, obviously there was violence and everything, but he was the voice of reason, and the voice of reason prevailed. And so, like, how do you think that would go if we indeed got a one-state solution and there was like a right of return, and then you had one democratic state? Like, I feel like there's almost no way it can go smoothly, right?
Well, so back to Nelson Mandela real quick. I think that it's wrong to say that he only supported nonviolence because it was dependent on strategy, and he did support the use of violence when it was strategically useful.
Well, he didn't condemn the people who were doing violence. There is, I think, a slight difference.
He pretty much he wasn't against it. That said, of course, he was a figure who, in the aftermath of apartheid, did help bring people together. But I don't think it's right to say that this is unprecedented. I mean, think about desegregation in the American South. A lot of the same arguments that are made about why Israel-Palestine can't be one democratic state were made not just for South Africa, where there was this fear that the white minority was going to be genocided if they gave black people rights. But also, you had a similar conversation that took place in the American South, where there was, I think, more significant hatred than Israel.
Apartheid has been dismantled. White people are now facing genocide in South Africa.
Palestine, because that was something that went on for hundreds of years. And there was a deep history of not just racism, but like lynchings and all kinds of things that, Israel-Palestine hasn't had time for as much damage to take place, I don't think. But that said, a lot of those same arguments were made. If we give black people rights, these people are still never going to get along. There's still going to be all this violence. They're going to come for the whites.
Wait, just to be clear, Rania, hold on. Let me just cut you off for 1 sec. I want to be clear about my position. I'm not saying, hey, there's all these problems and we shouldn't do it. I'm saying we actually should do a one-state democratic state solution. All I'm saying is I think we need to be clear-eyed about the fact that it's going to be messy as fuck.
Right. No, there's not some magic solution. This is a conflict that's been going on since the 40s. There's not some magic solution that's going to fix everything overnight. You can give everybody equal rights tomorrow. It doesn't mean those equal rights will be enforced. There's still going to be one side that has a lot more power, a lot more wealth, a lot more money. Just like in America, white people have more power and wealth and money because of generations of being in charge versus black people. But I don't think that's I understand people make those arguments. There isn't one easy fix. It won't be pretty, but it has to happen. Like what's happening now isn't pretty. What's happening now is actually way more frightening because right now you've got a state made up of a society that's becoming more right-wing, and there's literally no obstacles in their way they have nothing stopping them from carrying out their very violent and scary agenda. And that's what we're seeing happening in Gaza, across Palestine, and across the West Bank right now. So, I don't think it can happen overnight, and I do think there'll probably have to be some sort of truth and reconciliation.
Yeah.
But that said, I don't see any other answer. You either have permanent apartheid and permanent subjugation of one side, because like you said, the two-state solution is fake. It'll never happen. And it can't even logistically happen because of how many settlements you have in the West Bank. There is no, what Palestinian state? There's no territory that they could even have as a state.
Exactly.
So there's really only one option here. And the scarier side of things is the Israeli side, because they're the more powerful side. I don't think if you give Palestinians rights, there's going to be this hate and viciousness, because there isn't some settler colonial ideology at their foundation. They're just natives who want their lands, who want the right to live where they live. That's all. Whereas the Israelis do have this really scary settler colonial ideology. And so I think that's going to be harder to get rid of if there is one state. Is how do you deal with that? Because, those religious fundamentalists aren't going to go away. They're still going to be there, right? So it's I also think that this is an issue that I'm very, very cynical about it. Of course, I support one democratic state, but I just don't see any way that's going to happen anytime soon. Not because it can't be necessarily implemented, though it would be difficult to implement, but because the people who are in charge, the Americans, there doesn't seem to be any desire or at least political willingness to even go there.
Yeah, they won't stand up to them.
No,
the U.S. needs to step in. Yeah.
It's important to be clear not only about the U.S.
There is one good thing, though, I have to point out compared to in 2014. There have been a lot of politicians that have been condemning Israel lately, like AOC, Omar, and all of them. They've been doing a good job pointing it out. Fucking one of them called Netanyahu an imperialist warmonger and all that crap. AOC even just said recently on Twitter that Fosh tweeted out to me, retweet, which I retweeted back, that she pointed out that Israel is an apartheid state.
I agree that the squad is good when it comes to Palestine and Israel. The problem is that Biden and his administration are fucking warhogs who support Israel, so that's a problem.
Genocide.
Yeah,
Yep, and they need to be
warhogs who support Israel, so fuck them. Like,
yeah, fuck them.
So,
And we need to get rid of them and replace them with progressives who actually will pressure Israel to stop. So anyone watching, you must support Palestine in this conflict, and you must support BDS. Israel needs to be politically, economically pressured to stop their oppression, genocide, and land stealing of the Palestinians. Oh my god. So I think we finally covered this topic to death, unless you two have something else you want to add on it.
I don't know. I mean, we've got a pretty solid thing of what's going on at the moment.
yeah.
Alright, so what do you all want to talk about next?
What's the next one, I think, on the list? Oh, yeah, bullshit attacks on Kyle and Yang.
I think we maybe should do Yang first because it actually is involved with the Israel shit.
Oh, yes.
So, for any of you who don't know, Andrew Yang was a former Democrat politician who, well, not politician, but he ran for the Democratic nominee for president in 2020, and unfortunately he lost. So then he's trying to run for mayor of New York right now, which the primaries are coming up soon, and until this happened, it looked like he was going to have a very good chance to win, but I don't know about now since I haven't seen any polls on it, but unfortunately, Andrew Yang recently really shat the bed recently, where he actually defended Israel's attack on the Palestinians, and it was, oh god, so awful. Even Kyle had to do a video on it. And by the way, that video of Vosh we were talking about, me watching, that was about Yang. It was so fucking bad.
Yikes.
So do you have that tweet, or do you remember what he said? Because, oh god, it was so freaking bad.
Oh.
Now I want to point out, Yang, what you said in there was not good. Israel is the aggressor, not the innocent victim in this. So don't make excuses for him. And a lot of people have even said they think he's doing that more to try and get the votes of the Orthodox Jewish community in New York, since he really pissed them off when he was anti their circumcision bullshit. So he's like trying to like get them back under their sway, which I doubt you're going to do, and you just alienated everyone else, which is more important than probably a fringe far-right minority group. Like, come on, dude. And, of course, we wanted to bring that up.
With the people of Israel who are coming under bombardment attacks and condemn the Hamas terrorists.
Yeah, and he's gotten so much shit recently for it, too. It is just unbelievable, and deserved, too. But the reason we brought up bullshit attacks on Yang is because, not for that. That one actually is valid. I'm talking about the fucking idiots that say, Yang is, all his supporters are nothing but white supremacists, and he doesn't speak for us Asian Americans, so fuck him, and all that stupid crap. Kyle even did a video on that last year, remember? Like, oh my god, this is just so stupid. Why can't people actually attack him for valid reasons, too? Let me go find it.
No, Timbo, that's because in the mayoral race, he's actually the most, believe it or not, compared to other politicians, he's actually the most, the most outsider candidate, because, like, all other people running against him are, like local politicians, so that's why the corporate media hates him, because he's an outsider. Just like they ignored him when he ran for president, like, same dynamic, you know? So he actually is, compared to other people, like, more of an outsider. He's just, like, really, like, dumb when it comes to, like, Israel-Palestine. That's about it, pretty much. If you think about it, like, I mean, that's how I see it, at least, you know? Like,
and, of course, here's Kyle's video on it. CNN host thinks Andrew Yang is a crypto-white nationalist.
I mean, are you really surprised it's the corporate media? Of course.
And the Andrew Yang town hall they did is no exception at all. So look at what
did a couple of things that could be interpreted as being a bit weird, but that's about it.
And
once he clarified, it made a lot more sense.
Look what he ends up asking him.
Go ahead. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a resurgence of white nationalist violence. As a survivor of the deadly car attack in Charlottesville, it is important to me that our next president addresses this issue immediately. Please explain how you work to curtail this problem, and also please explain whether you will support a bill that defines white nationalist violence as terrorism.
Well, first, congratulations to you, Constance, for your incredible work. Let's give her a round of applause. And what you've been through. If people admitted, I'm not going to give you a hug right now. I'm going to go next to my commercial break. Because what you've been through sounds incredibly difficult and traumatic. So, to me, right now, this tribalism that's tearing our country apart is related to a dysfunctional economy. Because if you feel like you don't have a future and your kids don't have a future, and then someone comes up with this, for example, scapegoating immigrants or hateful ideologies, then they're much more subject to them. So by getting the economic boot off people's throat, hopefully we can help alleviate this tribalism. I'm inspired by the work of Dia Khan, this filmmaker who engaged in something called anti-hate. And so right now the temptation for many of us is just to condemn racism and hatred, which we should do because it has no place in our society. But then the next step out of that is actually convince the people that these hateful ideologies are incorrect. And that's more difficult, it's more painstaking, but over time, it's our best path forward to hopefully convince people that there is no place for hate in the United States of America.
Mr. Yang, you may know that white nationalists are supporting you online. They seem to have seized on some of your statements, which they say are proof that you are particularly concerned about white people. Why do you think they're drawn to your candidacy?
It's been a point of confusion because I don't look much like a white nationalist. The closest thing we could come up with for it was that I said, I retweeted the New York Times saying that America is dying of opiates, record numbers, so much so that more people are dying being born in various communities, and those communities are largely white communities in the West and the South. So I completely disavow any of that support. I don't want to support anyone who has any kind of agenda that's different than the agenda of this campaign. And our slogan is humanity first. We're trying to solve problems and improve the lives for tens of millions of Americans.
In your book, you do say the group I worry about most is poor whites. Why are you most concerned about that group, poor whites?
Well, in the context of my book, I was suggesting to Constance's point, like, how is this tribalism and violence going to manifest itself? And so the group I was most worried about was poor whites who felt like they had no future, and that violence would emerge in large part because that group would become increasingly angry and distressed. And so that's the context of the book. I am most concerned about that group in terms of the nationalism that Constance was describing.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, does that sound like anything unreasonable what he said to you, too? You two there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you hear what he said?
Yes.
Did that sound like unreasonable to any of you?
No.
No, he just defended like the poor white working class, so no.
And here's something that people need to point out. Just because you're anyone on the left, just because people on the right or even the far right like you or support some of your policies, that doesn't mean you agree with them or want what they want. You need to make that fucking distinction. Especially in the fucking batshit insane leftist community, which we're going to go after later, and fucking idiot liberals on Twitter. I don't know why people can't get this through their head. Hey, they agree with us on something, but that doesn't mean we agree with them on everything else. Like, oh my fucking god, these fucking idiots.
So dude. In his book, he says, I'm concerned about poor whites being radicalized into forms of white nationalist extremism. And her interpretation of that is why you say you're most concerned about poor whites. That is not at all an accurate summary.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. Why people keep interpreting shit he says wrongly so badly.
This is why mainstream media sucks, and this is why, like, it's a bipartisan thing among the people. We're like, we don't like you. We don't like mainstream media. We hate corporate media. Because that is so hacky. Every part about that was so hacky. By the way, in this same town hall, he talks about how, well, he just said there's no place for hate. Okay, that's number one. Number two is, he repeatedly talks about how we have pathway citizenship for immigrants who are here, and how he's the son of immigrants. And the argument is that this guy is some sort of a crypto white nationalist or something? I mean, come on, man. If there's something that I can't stand, it's like he's multiple degrees removed, but trying to tar somebody for it. So they've done this with Tulsi, too, where they say, like, Steve Bannon doesn't hate Tulsi Gabbard, and David Duke doesn't hate Tulsi Gabbard. Well, first of all, you know what her response was when that was brought up to her?
Same goes to a lot of people that say about Bernie, too, remember?
She responded directly to it and was like, no. Like, fuck you. I don't like you.
In fact, that reminded me, too. Kyle revealed, like, not even a month ago where people were saying Bernie is a, white supremacist MAGA supporter now or some bullshit like that. Remember that? What in the absolute fuck is wrong with these idiots? Jesus Christ, they're stupid.
That sort of shit is what enables the alt-right, you fuckwits.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. Point number two is, if you actually go to like what they say as to why they don't hate Tulsi, it's because there's this growing contingent of, there's paleo-conservatives, but there's also, yes, white nationalists. And some of them happen to have ideas on other issues that are like not insane, like they're anti-war, or, you know, sometimes they're against so-called free trade and outsourcing all these jobs. In fact, Matthew Heimbach, who's the head of like a literal white nationalist political party, his whole thing is like, I'm going to take Bernie Sanders' platform and just mix it in with like brazen, overt, over-the-top, insane, vicious bigotry and xenophobia and hatred. So like massively anti-immigrant and anti-anybody who doesn't look exactly like them, but like against Wall Street and against the wars and stuff like that. So, you know, to go after somebody like Tulsi, because there are some people who are terrible people who don't hate her, that's so stupid. That's like if fucking Richard Spencer said like, oh, Kyle Kulinski makes some good points on foreign policy. Is everybody supposed to now act like I'm evil and I'm terrible and I'm a stealth white nationalist or something because fucking a broken clock is right twice a day? Like, I obviously fuck that guy. I hate that fucking guy. He's a piece of shit. But he also might happen to agree that the Iraq War was bad. Like, are people incapable?
And that's another thing too. People need
In fact, I think it is actually David Duke and Richard Spencer. They actually one of them actually voted for Kerry because of the Iraq War.
Wow.
And another thing too is people need to eventually consider that, hey, maybe these very bad people, there is a chance that maybe they are just right on something. And maybe they're not wrong on literally every single thing ever. Like, that's something else that people can't ever consider, too. I don't think we need to really watch Kyle's video anymore. But have you ever seen that, too, how they treat Andrew Yang and Gabbard and Bernie and everyone else, like, on the left, too? Like, we're some fucking monsters or something. And, of course, also, if you didn't hear, because Ryzen talked about it, now they're attacking Yang because he perpetuates Asian American stereotypes, remember that? Oh, my fucking god, you stupid son of a bitch. God, people are so stupid. Anything you want to say about this, you two? Because I think I want to be done with this and go on to the Kyle video. If the only thing I'll really say left is, if you're going to attack Yang, attack him for valid reasons, like his support of Israel in the conflict that's going on with Palestine. That's actually valid, and that was really
something you can go after him for.
Yeah.
Is at least tacit support of genocide.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
Yeah, that is something valid. Going after him because people that are far right like him, or you misinterpret it on. Honestly, I think they do it on purpose. Well, I can't, but we know they do it on purpose and lie about him. No, that's not. You just look like silly, and you're discrediting yourself too if you go up and attack someone who actually deserves it. Jesus fucking Christ. I got a fucking headache for that. But now it's time to get into something that I definitely want to talk about, and that is Kyle respond to criticism. So for any of you, didn't know, Vosh some time ago. No, I'll actually start. Kyle did a video on there was a really cringy like CIA ad that went like full woke, like the SJW stereotype that the right always talks about. Oh god, it was so bad. Kyle talked about it, and then Vosh watched the video, and he talked about Kyle, Shu, and I think other lefties that he didn't really mention, and he somewhat criticized them, but not really too much. Well, more like Kyle, he didn't really criticize them pretty much at all. And the funny thing was, in the video, Vosh's comment sections were shitting on Kyle and making crap up about him to the point where Vosh was like, you guys know I agree with what Kyle's saying pretty much, yet when I say it, it's okay, but when he says it, it's not. Yeah. And then he pointed out that all the...
So weirdly stupid. That's just so weird.
And then...
It's not like with some of the attacks on Anthony Fauci. Yeah, he's fucked up on some things. That does not mean that everything he says is automatically a lie.
No, I agree. Same goes for Andrew Yang. He's wrong on Israel-Palestine, but he's like correct on other issues. Just because you're wrong on one thing doesn't mean you're wrong on everything. Like I agree with that, but you just got to look at each topic, I guess. You know, I agree with that. But yeah,
and then the comment section was like, Kyle is a reactionary. He loves Tucker Carlson and all these Nazis and shit online.
Who has any inkling of interest in Tucker Carlson is Jimmy Dore.
And it got
that's it.
And it got so bad that Vosh even replied to this comment section, if you guys actually think Kyle and Shu are reactionaries, not only are you wrong, you're fucking stupid, which, hey, finally gotta give credit to Vosh for once for actually defending Kyle for bullshit attacks. But Kyle saw the video, and he did a 30-minute response to it because it really was bad. It was more of like the comments in Vosh's video than necessarily him himself. But we're gonna watch it now. This is a long one, but it's well deserved.
I did this segment the other week about the woke CIA, and I didn't think anything of it. The overwhelming majority of you agree with the segment, but of course, some people on Twitter put that out of context and ran with it, and people who don't like me use that to come after me. Well, to my surprise, perhaps a little bit, somebody who I actually like caught wind of the clip, watched the clip, and responded to it. So this isn't a segment to attack this person. I view this as like an opportunity to further discuss this issue and dive into it and flesh it out and tell people what my position really is and what I think makes sense and what I think doesn't make sense. So you're going to hear here a clip of the streamer Vosh, political streamer, lefty, named Vosh, and he's going to basically dissect this clip from my woke CIA video. Watch.
By the way, this is in response to that CIA woke ad, which, by the way, was terrible. No actual person in the real world uses that term unironically. It just doesn't happen. Sure, in elitist liberal academic circles, they might talk about this shit, but that's not a normal common person. It's not. There's nobody.
Now, before I continue on, what Kyle is talking about is terms like intersectionality and stuff like that. That usually, like, very woke liberals on Twitter use, like, very, like, far leftists say, like, on their YouTube stuff, and, like, far right people mock and stuff like that. That's what the terms Kyle's talking about, which we'll get to later.
Trying to make fucking bills. Who's also, thinking about intersectionality and being cisgender. That doesn't happen. On top of bringing up intersectionality, she brings up the patriarchy. So now you see what's going on here. And by the way, this is not going to stop. So this is the CIA doing, the FBI's doing, the Democratic Party doing it for a long time. I'm not for Medicare for all. I'm not for free college. I'm not for living wage. I'm not for ending wars. I'm not for ending drug war and freeing the non-violent drug offenders. I'm not for any of the actual policies that are important and would fix the country and make everything better. But I will say we're intersectional. And I will give you my pronouns in my bio. And I will create an identity around my generalized anxiety disorder and make you feel like I'm relatable. I will, say I'm on the LGBTQ spectrum, or I'm cisgender, or, I believe in diversity, and I have people of color in my family, or I'm a person of color. They will give you everything when it comes to labels, social issues, and by the way, players of the CIA is doing a Democratic Party trick. I believe in diversity. I'm strong, I'm proud, I'm a daughter of immigrants, I'm a woman of color, I'm perfectly made, I'm proud of me, I'm a cisgender millennial, I have generalized anxiety disorder, I'm intersectional, I despise the patriarchy. And by the way, my main job is going to be to press the button on the drones that blows up innocent people overseas.
There are a few others that follow, but that's the main one. We can talk about that. I appreciate all the people in chat getting angry at Kyle Kulinski for saying exactly the sort of thing that I said in the past. At least sometimes.
Yeah, see? It's exactly like Vosh said. Let me replay that again for you all here. All you stupid lefties, here you go.
Overseas.
There's the clip. There are a few others that follow it, but that's the main one. We can talk about that. I appreciate all the people in chat getting angry at Kyle Kulinski for saying exactly the sort of thing that I've said in the past. At least sometime.
Exactly. So how is it when Vosh says the same thing, it's okay, but when Kyle does it, it's wrong? It's literally the same fucking thing, you stupid fucking morons. Quit being in your fucking bubble that, like, Vosh somehow when says something, it's okay, but when Kyle says the same thing, it's wrong. It's the same thing we said about the right earlier. If someone says something that's okay, correct, you can't just shit on them for it. You have to give them at least some sort of credit. Hey, that's right what you said. God damn, these people are fucking stupid.
Nice. So let's talk about what we liked and what we don't like, okay? So here are the things that I like. A lot of what he says for the majority of this video is kind of a paraphrasing of something Malcolm X once said about the symbolic gestures, what are the symbolic concessions? I'm not familiar with the full, or I don't remember the full quote. But the idea is essentially this. The elites, you can talk about politicians, we can talk about the CIA, we can talk about corporations, whatever, people with social power, are more comfortable placating to what we consider to be intersectional demands, intersectional wishes, than they are meaningful class-based issues. And that is completely true. I'm only pointing out that to conflate intersectionality and liberal identity politics just because the CIA used the term intersectionality in an advertisement is very irresponsible to me. And the opening statement from Kyle Kulinski, only liberal academics talk about this, strikes to me very similar to this really bad tendency I see from some populists online, where when they say the working class, what they...
here's another thing too. Well, let me reply it.
Tendency I see from some populists online, where when they say the working class, what they mean is the white working class.
That's another thing too, because Kyle talked about working class. I'm not kidding you, Vosh, but more importantly, his audience act like Kyle was implying that when he says working class, he means only white people. You know that, guys, right?
Oh, man, it's just dumb. Like, what the fuck?
We're going to get to in a bit.
There's an overlap there. Oh, the regular people, they don't deal with intersectionality. This is an academic thing. Well, to be fair, Marxist analysis is also not something the average person banties about, but the idea is irrelevant to everyone. And to say it like that, it kind of makes it seem like, oh, progressivism, intersectionality, these are like frivolous, offhand issues.
No, Vosh, no, that's not what Kyle's saying, and same goes for your audience. That's not all what Kyle is saying. You are being very uncharitable to what he's saying.
Soy-faced academic elites. Real people care about working class issues.
Hey, well, hatred of Jimmy Dore and Crystal and Sager.
Predominant working class demographic in America is and always has been brown and black people. If you want to criticize,
Kyle never said that or implied that.
God knows I do it. I do it all the time. But do not diss intersectionality or intersectional analysis just because...
mind blown. Kyle actually supports intersectionality.
The terms associated with it get misused, get cynically employed by corporations. Here's an interesting hypocrisy that I've noticed. You know all those leftists and left-leaning people who are like, intersectionality is stupid, we should focus on class issues. And the reason they say that is because, like, woke corporations misuse this terminology. You know what I mean? Like, I see that all the time. It's like, Coca-Cola had a Black Lives Matter stamp. Black Lives Matter has been co-opted by corporations. Why don't the types of people who say that ever complain about working class issues being co-opted by Tucker Carlson?
To be fair to Vosh, I don't know if that last part there that I showed you, and watch the whole video, I'll put the link in the video description box, I want you to get the totality of his comments, not just the snippets that I showed you. But, so to be fair to Vosh, I don't know if that last comment was directed at me, or I don't know if it's directed at some nondescript, populist lefty that he's talking about who's online. But, needless to say, obviously you guys know this if you're watching the channel, if you do on a regular basis, that criticism doesn't remotely make sense when it comes to me.
Yeah, if all you idiots actually think Kyle is like butt buddies with Tucker Carlson, then you are definitely a bunch of fucking idiots, because have you seen all the shit Kyle has said about him over the years?
You don't watch Kyle. They really probably don't, because they've heard so much negative shit from indirect negative shit from Bosch and similar people.
Especially in his comments, you know damn well they don't watch Kyle at all. They just they just find clips of him saying something they can on purpose interpret negatively to shit on him.
Because You can do a search, Secular Talk Tucker Carlson. In the history of the show, we've done 32 different segments on Tucker Carlson. The overwhelming majority of them are to go after Tucker Carlson, and the ones that aren't are like him debating John Bolton about the Iraq War, where Tucker's nominally taking the anti-war position, Bolton's taking the pro-war position. And even in those segments, what I typically do is say, and by the way, just so you know, even though he's right on this issue, he's generally a fraud, he's not really populist, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's another thing he keeps pointing out to people.
I went back and made sure, and I searched Secular Talk Tucker Carlson. Here's just some examples of the segments that I've done. Tucker Carlson defends loser corporatist John Delaney. Tucker Carlson smears Bernie Sanders. Tucker's staggeringly silly Green New Deal conspiracy. Tucker Carlson's very stupid attack on Ilhan Omar.
By the way, we're gonna have a fun time making fun of Tucker Carlson later on. It's gonna be funny.
Carlson pretends to be against the elites on Fox and Friends. And then listen, I think the most ironic part of this is, as I was watching this clip from Vosh, and again, I don't know if he's specifically referring to me in that particular criticism. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that we'll say he wasn't. He was critiquing some general, populist lefty. But as I was watching that clip, the most recent upload on the Secular Talk YouTube channel was fraud populist Josh Hawley opposes even moderate infrastructure bill.
Yeah, I even point that out to idiots on Fox's comment section that Kyle never talks about how fake the fake populists are with Republicans. and I showed a video of him doing so.
So the idea is like, why aren't you critiquing the frauds on the populist right for weaponizing class issues? The response is simple. I am doing that. In fact, I do it all the time. In fact, a lot of my segments are going after Fox News hosts. And the reason I do that is because Fox News is still the number one name in news. And so a lot of people get swayed by that nonsense. So somebody's got to respond to it. Now, I respect others who focus more on internet culture, online culture, but I'd like to have a mix of the old school stuff and the new school stuff, because the old school stuff is still very important, even though many people online might not necessarily realize that. Okay, so that's the first point. The next one is, he says it sounds a lot like when I, or people like me, bring up the working class, it sounds a lot like I'm referring to the white working class only. I want to be clear about this. That 100% is not what I'm referring to. And I consider that so obvious that to make a distinction and be clear that I'm not referring to only white people seems silly to me.
Yeah, really. What Vosh is talking about, because in Vosh, he says that when he hears people talk about working class all the time, he hears it as white working class in terms of like dog whistles that the right uses. Well, here's the thing. Not everyone sees those dog whistles, nor is everyone using them as dog whistles. Maybe, just maybe, listen.
There you go.
Maybe listen to a person and hear what they're saying and maybe realize, hey, when they say working class, they don't mean only white people, as Kyle does. Jesus Christ, it was very obvious what he's talking about. But if you have an irrational hatred of him, I guess you can't see it, whereas we could.
But having said that, there's clearly a number of people who don't see it that way. Vosh is not the only person making these sorts of criticisms.
And they're fucking idiots. How about that?
I like Vosh. I actually like the other guy who criticized me, but I'm going to respond to the other guy's tweet as well a little bit. But just for the sake of being extra clear, from now on, when I talk about the working class, I will either say the Rainbow Coalition working class or the multiracial working class.
No, Kyle, don't go into their logic. Please don't do that. And how much you want to bet? Very soon, he's going to forget to do it and go right back to working class. I bet that's going to happen. What do you two think? Oh my god, please don't use their talking points, for God's sake. They're just going to attack you for that, too.
That I now have to put the thing that says, hey, by the way, I don't just mean white people. Yeah, that's really fucking annoying. And the reason it's annoying is because anybody who's familiar with the show knows when I say working class, of course I mean people of all different races. And Vosh goes on to make the point like, hey, who makes up a lot of the working class? People of color. To which I respond, exactly! So why do anybody think when I say the working class, I'm referring to only white people? I mean, I honestly think it's ridiculous. But just for the sake of clarity, from now on I'll say the Rainbow Coalition working class, or the multiracial working class. Now, beyond that, there's one criticism that I think has some merit that I will correct. Well, actually, I guess this is the second one I'll slightly correct because I'm going to do the multiracial working class thing. But the other criticism that I think has a grain of truth in it is this idea that I unfairly lumped in intersectionality with liberal identity politics. And his argument is, yeah, criticize liberal identity politics all you want, criticize liberal identity politics, but don't lump in intersectionality with it, because that's not fair, because intersectionality actually matters. Now, the concept of intersectionality is not something I'm against. And I give those of you who don't know what it means, and I know most of you do know what it means, but just...
Yeah, see that? All you idiots that said Kyle is anti-intersectionality, he said it right here in this video. He is fine and supports intersectionality. You want me to replay it? Okay, I'll replay it for you.
Intersectionality actually matters. Now, the concept of intersectionality is not something that I'm against. And the idea, for those of you who don't know what it means, and I know most of you do know what it means... So I don't want to hear it from you ever again, you fucking idiots. In layman's terms, it means that all these different political issues are linked, and they're all related, so you should care about a variety of the issues. That's the idea behind intersectionality. So, my problem isn't with intersectionality, the concept. I agree with the concept of caring about a variety of issues because they're all linked. My issue is with the literal term, intersectionality. And the reason I have an issue with the literal term is because it's insular and off-putting to most normal people. Now, people also come after me for saying most normal people. When I say most normal people, I include people of color, I include the LGBTQ community. I'm talking about the overwhelming majority of people, full stop. And if you don't think that word is off-putting to most normal people, you're not talking to most normal people on a regular basis. You're just not.
I'll ask you guys this. Do you hear most people in your lives talking about intersectionality and stuff like that?
Yeah, and no, I don't.
What about you, Harry? Because I most certainly don't.
Obviously no, because normal people talk about other stuff, not intersectionality. No.
Well, they talk about those issues, but not using that term. That's what Kyle's pointing out. See, what a lot of these people that tag Kyle for criticizing that term is, because I had a lot of shit from Vosh's comment section about this, is that, as Kyle's going to point out, they are in a bubble. They talk about it. They surround themselves with people that do talk about it, like on Twitter and YouTube and all that. So, in their eyes, yeah, everyone talks about it. So, to them, it's a big deal that people shit on. But most people aren't in lefty circles on YouTube and Twitter. So, no, most people don't talk about stuff in terms like that. They don't know what those terms mean, for God's sake. They still would, the majority of Americans still support intersectionality, but they don't use that terms. If there is a way to talk about the issues that gets people on your side, but if you bring up the terms, it turns them off. Why bring up the terms? Just drop it and just focus on the issues instead, as Kyle's going to point out. You just hurt yourselves by keep insisting on bringing up the terms.
Sorry, it might be in certain cliques online that might be super popular to use the term intersectionality, but in the real world it's just not. And if somebody disagrees with that, I just think you're factually wrong. And by the way,
and you are.
Point, now, I haven't seen polling on that specific term, but if you look at the woke vernacular and how popular it is in broader society, this is the point. There was a poll recently where they asked Hispanic people, do they use the term Latinx? You know what percentage does? 3%. That's my point. That's my point. Is that the language, the terminology is incredibly insular and subculture.
And people actually attack Kyle like, this is the only study you could find about woke terms? You couldn't find anything else? Yeah, you say you couldn't find anything else. Like, do you see anyone, do you have any friends of, like, minority groups that use any, like, of these terms that you know off the top of your head? Do you? You too? Because I most certainly don't.
No.
I've had majority black friends all my life. I never hear them use any terms other than nigga. But other than that, no, nothing else. Like,
and if you want to be part of insular subculture, okay, by all means, go ahead. I'm not knocking you for it. But my point is, don't pretend like it has broad appeal, because it fucking doesn't. It just doesn't. So he goes on to bring this thing called the house ball vortex, The idea is like, there's, you don't want to be part of people aligning far right with far left, like Nazis with Bolsheviks, because that's a dangerous way to go far right, our enemies, so on and so forth. My only rebuttal to that is, I never tell people it's okay to be far right, to be extremists.
Yeah, that's another thing people too keep tagging Kyle about, that he is a reactionary that wants people to go to the right because, he refused to vote for Biden, if you know, guys. Since he don't want to vote for Biden, therefore, he supports Trump. Even though he lives in, I don't know, New York, which went to Biden like 30%. No, that doesn't matter, apparently, to these fucking idiots. Jesus Christ.
In fact, my record shows I convert people from the far right.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing, too.
Even if it's Adolf Hitler or Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Even though Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is now dead, and I don't know who the second in charge of ISIS was.
That's another thing, too. People act like Kyle never, ever, ever is a pipeline out of the alt-right. Not only do they not think that, they think he leads people into the alt-right and right-wing groups only. They never... Same goes for, like, Ryzen, too. They say, Crystal is just leading progressives to becoming right-wing dipshits online, but it's never the other way around. Like, hey, when Sagar talks about his stupid dipshit right-wing crap and he brings his audience in when they hear Crystal talk, maybe she's getting them to become progressives too, and I know she is, because that's all over the place in the comment sections, you fucking idiots, just like all the other progressive YouTubers. Jesus fucking Christ, stupid.
Now, the most proud of, before it was just Democrats, now the thing I'm most proud of is when I went to political events, the number of people who come up to me and say, hey, I was your friend, hey, I was your friend, hey, I was going down the alt-right pipeline, and I saw your stuff and it took me out of that, and now I'm a lefty. I lost track of the number of people who said that to me, and that really makes me proud. That really makes me happy. That's the single most important thing, because I'm changing minds. Now, listen, I don't need to tell Bosch this. He's changing minds also. I know, as a matter of fact, I've seen it. So I guess my point would be, you can't just call anybody who has a slightly different approach to you, or take slightly different positions on issues, part of the not-ball vortex, because now I'm somehow part of the problem.
Yeah, and Vosh made fun of his audience, too, for doing that, when he made fun of them for calling Kyle a reactionary. So, learn to take the L, fucking Vosh's comment section. Jesus Christ, you're stupid.
That's just factually wrong. Part of the process of deconversion from the far right, and this is really important, I want to stress this, is giving credit where it's due. That's part of the process of deconversion. And then when you give them criticism, they're more likely to listen to it, because you also gave credit where it's due. So, there's a lot of libertarians who watch my show. Why? Probably because I'm in favor of abortion. Probably because I'm in favor of legalizing marijuana. There's a number of positions I have where I line up with libertarians. Even though on economic issues, I disagree with them massively. The fact that I'll say, hey, you guys have a point on this thing, means I go, interesting, let me listen to the rest of what you have to say. That's an important part of the conversion process. You can't just have one lazy all the time for everybody around you, no matter what the details of what they're saying is, because then you're siloed off in your own corner, and you're never going to win, you're never going to gain support, you're never going to push the movement in the right direction. So I think that's another important point. But I want to get even more specific. So let's get to my criticism of wokeness, okay? My criticism of wokeness is twofold. Number one, it's exploited by the powerful and used as a leftier-than-thou veneer.
Yeah.
That's the CIA thing. And the CIA does this a number of times. Corporate Democrats do this all the time. When these powerful institutions cave on symbolism, they're caving on symbolism. They'll use your terminology, they'll use your words, because nothing hinges on it. And if anything, it reinforces these institutions of oppression and subjugation, because then they turn around and say, I'm not talking about it, I'm agreeing with you guys, I'm with you all the way. Look, I said patriarchy, I said intersectional. I said, whatever, don't like whatever woke term you want to use. So, my first criticism of wokeness, I don't know how many people argue against that, but that's just factual. And Bob doesn't argue against that, he agrees with that. But my second criticism of wokeness, put policy aside for a second. Just put it aside. Because on actual specific issues, I'm not sure there's any disagreement between Bob and I in terms of what policies we implement in the country on these social issues. But policy aside, the language and terminology of woke culture is insular and alienating and sectarian, which is the opposite of universal. So the culture is perfect.
Let me put it this way. The fact that a lot of your terms even turn, I don't know about you two, but a lot of times me off, even though I agree with you on the issues, you got a fucking problem, and you have to recognize that.
Subculture, and you don't embrace the subculture if you want to win. You embrace the anti-subculture if you want to be pulled with a small niche group. Now, again, I'm not knocking if you want to do that, but don't fucking pretend like you're popular, because you're not. Don't pretend like my point is wrong when I say most common normal people are not walking around talking about how my generalized anxiety disorder and my intersectionality, my patriarchy, my transgenderism, or my asexuality, or whatever. Like, if you bring that stuff up and talk about it casually, as if this is what regular people in 95, it's just fundamentally not true. And when I say common normal people, I don't just mean white class people, I mean people of color. I mean the LGBT community themselves. So,
you have no idea how many times in lefty circles over the years where I've been told, you can't talk about this, you're just a cis white man and all that stupid bullshit. You're blinded by the patriarchy and all that crap. This is what I'm talking about. You guys need to stop using these stupid terms, which most people don't even know what they are, and of course the right makes fun of them and hurts us. Just don't use them. The majority of Americans agree upon the issues. Just talk about those issues individually, which Kyle actually will get to in this video.
So, those are my two criticisms. Number one, wokeness is exploited by powerful and used as a leftier-than-thou veneer argument. And it's basically just caving on symbolism because nothing hinges on symbolism, and they know that, so it reinforces institutions of oppression and subjugation. The second criticism is that policy aside, the language and terminology is insular and alienating and sectarian, which is the exact opposite of universal. If you're on the left, you believe in universalism. The culture is purposely a subculture, and you don't embrace that if you want to win. You have to appeal to the majority of people whether or not you like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. As I keep telling people in Fosh's comments and all the other lefty circles before I get kicked out of them, if we're gonna win, we are going to have to get some Republican voters. Regardless of whether you like it or not, that's the reality. We are going to have to get some of them. Now, how are we going to get them? Well, when you use woke terms like this, guess what? Instant rejection. They have no interest in it. But there is one thing that will get them more likely to support us. If we focus more on class issues, and we focus on them more, we get in power, and then we can implement intersectional ideas that help everyone. That is what I've been saying. That's what Kyle's been saying. Everyone's been saying for a long time. But no, you're class reductionists for pointing that out.
These fuckers are being race reductionists.
Yeah, that's another
thing. I know Bosch is not a race reductionist, so he should be. Stop acting like a race reductionist.
But we know his audience and other lefties on YouTube most certainly are. And they're fucking idiots. You're not going to win with your arguments to get people to vote for you. Me, Harry Vlog, Kyle, we have a much better chance because we don't turn off people like you do. I'm in fucking, like a whole bunch of monster truck servers. I've gotten so many even Trumpsters to be at least centrist to libertarian to maybe even being Bernie bros. Because when they bring up all this stupid shit that you guys say, I point out, yeah, that's stupid. They're a bunch of fucking idiots, and I don't agree with them on that. But here's why they're still right on some of the policy issues. They list them all over again, and they go, okay, you at least admit that they're stupid. I'm willing to listen to you. You're not going to win if you do your way. We are going to win if you listen to us. Jesus fucking Christ.
Now, again, am I saying that you're not allowed to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself? Use whatever gender terminology you want to use? No, call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. No problem with that whatsoever. Identify however you want to identify. No problem with that whatsoever. The point is, don't pretend like that shit is what's popular and that shit is what wins elections, because it's just not. It's just not that. So, the last thing I want to respond to is another guy I like, Adam Johnson of Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. When I responded to the tweet of me out of context attacking the woke CIA video, I said, hey, thanks for sharing. This is some of my best work. And I said, I'm attacking the woke CIA stuff here. If you think I'm actually like anti-diversity, then LOL. Like, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. But Adam Johnson responded to the tweet. He said, this is pretty patent boring right-wing anti-PC griping. I'm confused. Your intention, normal
Johnson, what the fuck?
You are aware most LGBTQ people aren't elite and work 9 to 5, right? And majority of them are aware of these concepts. So let's break this down. He says, this is pretty patent boring right-wing anti-PC griping. It's only right-wing if you define it as such. You say any talk of political correctness or wokeness from this perspective is by definition right-wing. Now you can make that claim, but I don't agree with you. And the fact that I have this position, somebody who's clearly a leftist, and over 95.
And that's another thing, you lefties. Being anti-PC culture and anti-woke and all that crap does not mean you're right-wing. A lot of people on the left are against it too, like us, Free, and Kyle.
Percent of my lefty audience agrees, and I know that because of the like and dislike rate on the video, well then, perhaps you might want to concede that indeed this is not, by definition, right-wing. But my guess is he's defining it as that because that's how he views it. That if anybody criticizes wokeness or political correctness, that by definition is right-wing. So I disagree right off the bat. It's not right-wing. You could smear it and call it right-wing, but it's not. It's inconvenient that a lot of lefties happen to agree. Then he says, I'm confused, is it your contention normal common people have no awareness of cisgender as a term? No, my claim is, normal common people don't use the woke vernacular and the woke terminology in everyday life. And this is the part that pisses me off. You are aware that most LGBTQ people aren't elite and work 9 to 5, right? Yes, Adam, I'm very aware of that. And when I talk about normal common people...
That is another thing people did too in watching the video. They kept insisting, and Kyle fought, that every minority LGBT person is just elitist and all that crap. He never once implied that, you fucking idiots!
The Rainbow Coalition. I'm talking about the multiracial working class. But it's amazing to me that a lot of people, when you talk like this, they assume you're talking about only white guys in hard hats in 1950 in a union. Why are you assuming that? That has a lot more to do with you than it does me. Because my default, obvious position is that when I talk about normal common people, of course I'm including LGBTQ people. Of course I am. And most LGBT...
Maybe you guys are unironically racist too.
LGBTQ people don't use woke vernacular. Most people of any minority group don't agree with the woke vernacular. Now again, I have no polling on the specific term cisgender. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. But what I did find was a poll on the term Latinx. And very respected polling company, I don't know if it was Gallup or Pew or whoever, they asked Hispanics, do you use the term Latinx? And again, only 3% of them said, yes, I do. That's my point. That's it. That's the whole point.
And also, there are many people in Kyle's comment section that said, hey, I'm minority, I'm this, minority that, and I don't use these terms, and I don't hang around people that use these terms. So yeah, what Kyle's saying is just true. It's true in his experience, and it's true in our experiences. Like you said, all of you said, you don't see anyone, even minority friends or whoever, that use these terms, right? Because I don't.
No.
Point. That's the whole point. Normal common people, including people of every minority group or part of the working class, of course, they don't use your terminology. They don't. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Now again, you don't have to like that, but it's a fact. So that's probably the criticism that most got under my skin is this idea that when I'm referring to the working class, I only mean white people. Why would anybody ever think that? Because
yeah, really, you're fucking retarded if you do.
And assuming that there must be some bigotry somewhere in there for them to make the claims that they're making. And I'm sorry, but that's just not true. Now, final thing I'll say is, to prove my point, then when I deride intersectionality, I mean the concept, I mean the actual literal term. I say in the exact video that Bosch is responding to, I bring up Medicare for all, free college, living wage, ending the wars, want to talk about justice for people of color overseas who are being killed by U.S. empire, and freeing nonviolent drug offenders.
See, those are issues that we could talk about from a class perspective that also has a racial component too, hence they are intersectional issues which Kyle supports and pushes for. So unironically, he's actually trying to help push intersectionality better than you guys do. And you said he's anti-intersectionality. What was that then?
And legalizing, taxing, regulating drugs. The drug war disproportionately targets people of color. When I talk about all those issues...
Yeah, drug war. The drug war affects everyone. It's a class issue, but it overwhelmingly disproportionately uses against minorities, which is a race issue too. So, intersectionality too, drug war.
That's intersectionality. You care about all these issues that affect all these different communities. That's intersectionality. I'll go further. Do I support transgender folks being a protected class in the same way that racial groups are protected classes? Yes. Yes. 100% I do. So do I care about all these issues? Of course I care about all these issues. I believe in intersectionality as a concept. What I don't believe in is pretending like the term intersectionality is popular and that most people use it when they don't. They don't use Latinx. They don't use intersectionality. They don't talk about patriarchy. And again, define yourself however you want to define yourself. Use whatever terms you want to use. Just stop pretending like it's popular because it's not. That's the point. It's not popular. Nobody uses that vernacular except liberal elite academics and very tiny niche subgroups. Now, that's the problem that the left faces. And I really think this is maybe the most important point, is that the left, at the same time, they want to win and get power and implement our policies, they also sort of want to remain its own little exclusionary, edgy subgroup. You have your niche little fellow members of your cult that believe everything you believe. And you want at the same time be countercultural and the dominant cultural force. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. Now, am I arguing you give in at all on actual policy issues? No, not at all. Not at all.
That's something else that people in Vosh's segment kept saying, Kyle, was he wants to fuck all of us over in the end, which I find incredibly stunning that people actually seriously think Kyle wants that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, they're fucking idiots.
But I am arguing you do whatever the fuck you have to do strategically to win. If that means dropping the edgy vernacular, who gives a fuck? Drop it. Drop it now.
And people are like, oh yeah? You support for strategic purposes for progressives to win? You're a Bernier buster. Even though he's in a state that overwhelmingly was going to go to Biden no matter what, and he never fully advocated for Bernier bust, so, destroyed again.
Drop it ASAP. So, that's my take overall. This is a very, very long segment, but I felt like it was important. Because again, I like Vosh. He's done some great work. He's debated so many asshole right-wingers. He's deconverted a lot of people. He does a lot of solid coverage. Him and I have disagreements. That's fine. You disagree with a lot of people, right? Like, you don't agree with somebody on everything. But this needs clarification. And this issue needs to be dissected more. Because there's just this straw manning of people who are on the populist left as if, we're somehow a few steps away from fanboying Tucker Carlson or some shit. When I would put my record of calling out Tucker Carlson's bullshit against fucking anybody. That's not an ancillary point. It's not a coincidence that I'm also super fucking tough on that guy. I'm gonna call out the bullshit wherever I see it. That's what I'm gonna do. And sometimes to be at targets that are sick.
And by the way, we're gonna make fun of him probably next too, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Your cows on the left. Too fucking bad. Too fucking bad. Because I'm interested in actually winning and getting our policies implemented. I'm a policy purist, and strategically, I'm the opposite. I'll do anything that works strategically in order to win. You could be a strategic purist, but if you keep losing, you're gonna keep losing. It's very simple. And this sort of stuff, I do think, hurts. It doesn't help. So anyway, I want to give Bosch an open invitation to become a Crystal Kylan friends. It'll be a friendly conversation.
Yeah, that would be awesome if they could do it. So anyways, what do you two have to say about that? That was a long one, but yeah. Other than, I don't like when Kyle does the Rainbow Coalition, all that crap. But other than that, I thought he was right on every single thing he said. What do you two think?
Yeah.
So anything we have to say before we make fun of Tucker Carlson?
Not really much.
Other than, get triggered, lefties, Kyle's based. Sorry if you don't like that, but he is. And he will do, and he has done much more for the left than you ever will. So, get mad. Now, let's make fun of Tucker Carlson and possibly Joe Rogan too, because this is our topic on idiots make excuses and lying about COVID. And saying that it's not real and all that crap. As Mike from the Humans Report actually did a video recently of Carlson, and oh my god, this is one of the most funniest things he has ever done. This is insane. Hope you're ready for a
All
laugh.
throughout the pandemic, Tucker Carlson has used his massive platform to spread lies and misinformation about COVID-19. I mean, he's been wishy-washy on masks. He cited skewed data from quack doctors that supposedly confirmed that the seriousness of the virus and contagiousness of the virus has been vastly overstated by mainstream media. But even though he's been proven wrong time and again, he keeps getting worse. And his latest thing is to push this idea that the COVID vaccines, maybe they're not that good of an idea. Maybe it's just a form of control by our authoritarian government that just really wants you to obey them. But just when I thought he couldn't get any worse, he managed to somehow surprise me. This is by far the worst thing he's ever said as it relates to COVID-19. And after watching this, I'm ready to conclude that this is by far the most dangerous propagandist in modern history. It's not like he's saying this on a YouTube channel. He's not saying this on some fringe far-right channel like Newsmax or OAN. He's saying this, what we're about to see, on the largest news network, on the most popular television show in America.
Not even Tony Fauci still pretends that masks are medically necessary. Instead, masks are purely a sign of political obedience, like Kim Il-sung pins in Pyongyang. We wear them because we have to. The only people who wear masks voluntarily outside are zealots and neurotics. How neurotic are they? Well, we know. A Pew survey from last March found that 64% of white Americans who classify themselves as liberal or very liberal have been diagnosed with an actual mental health condition.
Of
you see them everywhere
course.
when you walk down the street in any major city. If you dare to go on foot from Union Station to the Capitol, for example, in Washington without wearing a mask, angry Biden voters will snort at you in judgment. How could you?
How about, I will say that too, and I actually didn't support Biden. Yeah, you should be wearing your mask to help contain the spread of COVID. Guess what, too? Maryland ended their mask mandate, I think it was today. Guess what? When I go out, I'll still be wearing my mask until I know it's 100% safe. Get triggered.
They're saying from behind the gauze. How could you? That's the question we should be asking of them in return. The rest of us should be snorting at them first. They're the aggressors. It's our job to brush them back and restore the society we were born in. So the next time you see someone in a mask on the sidewalk or on the bike path, do not hesitate. Ask politely but firmly, would you please take off your mask?
Dame. How about that?
Science shows there is no reason for you to be wearing it. Your mask is making me uncomfortable. We should do that, and we should keep doing it until wearing a mask outside is roughly as socially accepted as lighting a Marlboro in an elevator. It's repulsive. Don't do it around other people.
This is just great.
That's the message we should send because it's true. As for forcing children to wear masks,
Oh, God, this is where it gets
that should be
bad.
illegal. Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart. Call the police immediately.
Yeah, call the police when people have their kids wear a mask. And by the way, it's child abuse.
Yeah. What a fucking stupid rant.
It doesn't stop, by the way. But, yeah, you gotta say about that. Oh, guess what, Tucker Carlson? If I had kids right now, you bet your damn ass I'll be having them wear a mask when they go outside. Get triggered. Call the child abuse you want.
Contact Child Protective Services. Just calling until someone arrives. What you're looking at is abuse. It's child abuse, and you're morally obligated to attempt to prevent it. If it's your own children being abused, then act accordingly. Let's say your kid's school emailed you to announce that every day after lunch, your 6th grader was going to get punched in the face by a teacher. How would you respond
Oh my
to
God,
that?
I remember this stupid
That's
analogy.
precisely how you should respond when they tell you that your kids have to wear masks on the soccer field. That is unacceptable, it is dangerous, and we should act because it is.
That was
It's the opposite, Tucker,
dangerous.
you fucking idiot!
Yeah.
It's more dangerous to not wear a mask than... Oh my fucking God, what do you two guys say about that one?
I mean, well, obviously, wow, no, Tim, obviously I don't laugh as much as you do, but like, I mean, obviously it's dumb because like he instead of ranting about, I don't know, poverty or wars and shit, he's talking about masks. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's really fucking dumb. Like his rants, it was just bullshit.
And then it's child abuse. It's child abuse to have your kid wear a mask.
Obviously that's dumb. No.
And then you offend me by wearing a mask. Well, too bad. You offend me when you're a fucking idiot. How about that? Can you not be an idiot, please? And it's dangerous for kids to wear a mask and compare it to being bullied. I remember when I saw it, I just could not help but die and laugh. I knew we had to talk about it. That was so fucking funny. Yep. But it also is very bad at the same time because how much you want to bet his idiot followers actually have harassed parents with their kids wearing masks? I guarantee you that's a thing.
Wow.
I bet you that is indeed happening. And it's awful. And of course, remember, he went to Fox went to court about Tucker Carlson's stupidity. They say, he's too stupid to be taken seriously, remember, guys? No one takes him seriously. You have no idea how many people actually do believe him. Oh my God. I remember one time years ago, taking a walk in the middle of the night, I walked by people's houses. Every single one had like a TV in front of them. Guess what was on their TV? Bill O'Reilly and all of them. I guarantee if I did that tonight, you'd see Tucker Carlson everywhere. He is fucking... He is as Kyle's pointed out too, he is like one of the most viewed TV personalities in the country when it comes to politics. Whatever he says is definitely going to be taken very seriously by a lot of stupid people. So no, don't listen to him, but we know a lot are going to do. No, it's not child abuse to have your kid wear a mask. Nor is it less safe to not wear, to wear a mask than it is not to. Wear a mask until your state has the mandate gone, like mine is, but even so, still wear it until we know COVID is like no longer a threat, and get vaccinated, and you can. And then speaking of which too, we're going to get to Mike's other video about Joe Rogan downplaying the COVID vaccine. So are you ready for some more stupidity?
That it wasn't possible for Joe Rogan to get any worse. He keeps getting progressively worse. And look, I was never a fan of Joe Rogan. In fact, I hated Joe Rogan before it was cool to hate Joe Rogan. Having said that, though, even I can acknowledge that there was a time where he would actually talk to physicists. He'd bring on folks to talk about astronomy and actual science. But now it seems like he's always talking to right-wing reactionaries and conspiracy theorists. And you can see the way that it's directly changing his worldview, where he's no longer trusting the science on a plethora of issues, where he's no longer, at least somewhat liberal when it comes to economics and social policy. But now he's just indistinguishable from conspiracy theorists that you see everywhere. And it's really depressing to see. Not because I care about Joe Rogan. I couldn't care less about him as an individual, but I care because there are millions of people that tune in every single day to listen to his broadcasts. What he says, it actually holds weight. It has a real-world impact.
Just like Tucker Carlson.
Seriously. And they take what he says seriously. So when he does things like this, what we're about to see, I can't help but think he's a lost cause. So here is Joe Rogan actively discouraging folks who are younger, telling them to not get the COVID vaccine.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should. If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
Everyone has to worry about it. It doesn't matter if you're healthy, eating right, exercising, all that. It don't matter.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
But there's a lot of jobs that will tell you need to have this.
Well, that's what's starting to happen now.
People are worried about them doing it for their children. And we talked about this earlier. There's that you might have to have your children vaccinated. And
that's already the law pretty much for other vaccines, you know.
The virus.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say that. If someone's children died from this, I'm very sorry that happened. I'm not in any way diminishing that.
Nope.
But I'm saying the personal experience that my children had with COVID was nothing. One of the kids had a headache. The other one didn't feel good for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like maybe I mean not feel good. Like no big deal. No coughing.
Right.
No achy. No like in agony. There was none of that.
Rogan. Yeah, some people might not have nowhere near as bad symptoms. Some even don't get symptoms whatsoever. But there are, just because that's the case does not mean it's the case for everyone else. Like my fucking uncle almost died because of COVID. He was in the hospital for like 3 months, for God's sake. It was on the local news back in Baltimore County. That's how serious it was for him. And how many millions of people died around the world. And not only that, too, millions of people have terrible after effects of COVID that probably gonna last forever. Like, just because you and your kids handled COVID okay does not mean it's the same for everyone else. Everyone is different. And I hate to say this, but you are downplaying it when you do say this.
It was very mild. It was akin to them getting a cold.
Yeah, and you can have this thing where it's like you were saying, this virtue signaling and this kind of like theatrical display of I get the vaccine, what a good person I am, I care about everyone. But you're like, look, my daughter's a lot younger than your kids, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not injecting my daughter with something to fucking virtue signal. Like, I'm not doing that. If there's something that she's of no risk, statistically has no risk from, I'm sorry, I'll not make any experiment in that, and that's my attitude.
But it's amazing that that's controversial.
Yeah.
Why are you surprised it's controversial to not vaccinate your kid? That seems a little surprising, because I'm pretty sure most rational people would think that's a big deal.
Even saying that, I'm not going to inject my child with the vaccine, is controversial.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's valid to be controversial.
We are not talking about even the flu that we just found out killed 22,000 people last year. We're not talking about that.
Right.
We're talking about something that is not statistically dangerous for children. But yet people still want you to get your child vaccinated, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, you
How is
should
it
be
crazy?
If you are vulnerable.
Kids are vulnerable.
Work that way, you fucking moron.
Remember,
That's not the way.
long COVID is a thing that fucks up children as well.
Yeah, it affects everyone. And I'm sure kids are just as likely to, I don't know, maybe die like old people because their immune system's not fully developed, just like old people's immune systems are weak and all that. So I'm sure kids are just as likely to die from COVID as like old people too. Oh my god! And even if people say this all the time, the death rate is low and all that crap, and oh my god, if you're able to get it, get the fucking vaccine for God's sake. If it's gonna help rid the spread, and that's another thing too. Like when people complain about like mask and all that. I'm tired of being forced to wear a mask and all that. And if you want to end like the mask mandates and all that, then you need to help to contain and end the spread of COVID. How do you do that? You get vaccinated, you get yourself checked, wear a mask, and then eventually, once herd immunity gets in with the vaccines and all that crap, and COVID is no longer as much of a threat, then all the restrictions will be gone, and then you can be back to enjoying your life. You not getting the vaccine and you not wearing masks when you should and all that crap is just going to make it not only take longer, but you could possibly allow COVID to have a mutation that will make the vaccine no longer work, and then we're back to the same problem we are right now, which, by the way, is unfortunately happening in India right now too, remember? Oh my god, these people are just fucking stupid. And of course, I'm surrounded by these idiots too, all a bunch of fucking Trump dipshits. Alright, so I've talked about enough of this topic. What do you guys gotta say about Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan's stupidity?
Yeah, it is extreme stupidity.
anecdotes and batshit insanity. So it's getting really late. I think I have time for like 2 more topics, but we had to make them really quick if you want to talk about them. And I know the exact 2 I want to talk about. How about we make fun of someone else that's also stupid? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ah!
Oh, yes.
As we just got a video too. For anyone who doesn't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she was just elected this last election. She is a batshit insane far-right fucking idiot. And she's extremely violent too. She is a terrible person, and she has a very, very creepy obsession with AOC to the point where I think AOC really needs to push like a restraining order or harassment charges on her, because this is really, really fucking bad. That Rational National just covered recently. This was a video that happened, I think it was back in 2019, right when AOC came into power. And there's a video of Marjorie Taylor Greene outside AOC's office, like talking shit about her through an envelope box. It is insane. Here it is.
How crazy? What the fuck?
Talk to Crazy Ocasio. You come to this little thing and you open it up and you whisper into her.
This is the video.
This is Ocasio confession right there.
Here we go.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman, I'm a female business owner, and I'm proud to be an American woman.
Identity politics much? Also,
that's a lot of identity politics right there.
I thought the right was against identity politics, guys. I could have sworn they said they were.
They never will.
Exactly.
They weaponize it against the left.
And by the way, you don't think AOC is a proud American woman? You fucking idiot.
And
Probably.
I do not support your
No, she almost certainly doesn't.
Of course.
And I'm proud to be an American woman. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies.
First off, AOC is not a socialist, you stupid fucking bitch. She is a
Democrat.
But then again, these are people I would say Biden is a socialist, remember?
They say everyone who isn't in their religion of Trumpism is a socialist.
Fucking dipshits. And then of course, her having a meltdown about abortion, all that.
As a mother of 3 children, I'm appalled at New York's law for abortion,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to end, and it needs to stop now.
And of course, you want to end women's rights. Quite authoritarian of you. That's something to be proud of, apparently.
God's judgment on
Oh,
the
God's
country,
judgment!
and I'm
Guess what?
against it.
Guess what, Marjorie? Your God is made up. Get triggered.
Those my friends. So you need to stop being a baby and stop locking your door and come out and face the American citizens that you serve. If you want to be a big girl, you need to get rid of
Ooh,
the
identity
diaper
politics
and come out
again.
and be able to talk to the American citizens instead of us having to use a flap, a little flap.
And you call her childish, just gets even funnier, which shows how childish you are.
Oh, flappy, flappy.
Okay, look.
This is like child games.
This is.
Oh, and by the way, too, apparently there was I think it was 2 men with her in this video. I can't remember where I heard this from, but one of them was actually involved in the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were that close to AOC's office, can you imagine if they got their chance to get to her office? I don't think she was there though, but that is pretty concerning.
Extremely.
And Voice even pointed out too in his video talking about this. Why are they allowed to go to their office like this with no security apparatus? That seems like way too creepy and concerning.
Yep.
Hello there.
Hello. Hashtag, where's AOC?
But remember guys, AOC's the childish one here.
It's creepy.
Even though she's the one being a fetus.
Dad, you're it. Guess what? You can't stay in there forever. Can you come out and play?
Alright, so I guess she got the message before we came here.
And also, do you know Marjorie Taylor Greene is obsessed with debating AOC recently? Oh, that would be one giant shit show. AOC would probably be kind of dumb, but she would destroy her on all the policies, and Greene would just make a fool of herself and then claim that she won. It would be so terrible but funny at the same time. God damn, you are so fucking stupid. But of course, remember, we're all just a bunch of sexists for making fun of her for being an idiot, as they are ironically support sexist policies against AOC, like being anti-abortion.
Yeah.
You're a very good artist.
I'm just trying to decorate, you know?
This is her book where we sign it.
This is her signing book, and I'm just signing in.
AOC is such a child, and therefore we're gonna take her a book that's in front of her office, and we're just gonna draw it on, like Marjorie just drew a wall on there, I guess to represent Trump's wall and all that. It was so great. And Vlog, she said really stupid things you've covered before on the show, remember?
Yeah. The Jewish space lasers. She's made all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories. She's QAnon, of course, remember? So, yep. Yeah.
Oh my God, for the love of God, wherever you vote her in, please vote her out in 2022. But of course, I'm sure it was a very far-right district, and I'm sure they love her for this crap, because they're a bunch of idiots. So, Harry, what do you guys say about this stupid shit?
Stupid, creepy, and moronic.
And unironically sexist, too. So, what are you saying, Harry?
Yeah, obviously, all the things she said were dumb, and just for the record, yes, she Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, she's from I think she's from a plus 28 Republican district in Georgia. So it's like a deep red district. So she's pretty much never gonna lose. But AOC should definitely put a restraining order on her, because that's just harassment. So I kind of feel bad for AOC, because it's really fucking it's really dumb and harassment, you know. So
yeah, that is really bad how they're treating her, just like how the right is treating her.
I don't know, but especially she should put a restraining order on Marjorie Taylor Greene, because that's just really not cool.
Yeah, that's just really bad. So anything you had to say about that, Vlog?
Kinda. It's just absolutely nuts how stupid, how batshit insane this woman is.
Now remember, guys, us progressive men, we're sexist for pointing out how batshit insane a far-right bitch is. Always gotta use identity politics against us, remember? Even though they claim we're the only ones that use it. Alright, so I think we beat that topic up. I think I want to do the last one because I gotta get going soon. And that is, I haven't heard about this in a while, but Congress actually voted on passing statehood for DC, if you two didn't hear about that.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Unfortunately, this was back in April, so I'm sure it died in the Senate and all that. I don't even know the exact requirements, too, for to become a state, 'cause I'm sure it's probably a lot higher than just simply a congressional vote. But DC is trying to become a state, as it should, but of course, Republicans are against it. And you know why?
Because he's a Republican with a D next to his name.
Yep. But we all know why. The real reason why they don't want DC to be a state. Because if DC is a state, that's 2 guaranteed Democratic senators, and I'm pretty sure just 1 congressman, because they're barely even bigger than Wyoming. Wyoming has 1 congressman. So
yep. There's a couple of states that are bigger than.
Yeah, but I think it was only going to get 1 congressman right now, but it would be so that would give the Democrats the majority, and 2 that they will never lose, because DC is actually the most bluest place in the entire country. They usually go to the Democrats by 90%. If you didn't, even my 36 Maryland doesn't come close to that. So yeah, the Democrats are going to always win now. That'll increase the lead a little bit in the Congress right now, but that would definitely give the Democrats a lead in the Senate. But of course, the Republicans are against it.
And that's probably why Manchin isn't going for it, because he wants the power of his 1 vote, and he'll lose it if Democrats go 51-50 up.
And not only that, that's the reason why the Republicans and Manchin are against it. But you should be for it because of representation, because they don't actually have representation at all. They have electoral votes, Yeah, but they don't have any representatives supporting their interests. And the argument of, when DC was founded, it was supposed to be like a neutral city and all that for a capital. Fuck that stupid shit. That's like the stupid crap they say about the Electoral College. Times change. DC needs to be a state. Also, what needs to be a state too? Puerto Rico. Especially since they need to be statehood in order to get the funds that they need to, recover from their hurricane from almost 4 years ago. Like, Jesus Christ, so what do you guys say about this?
DC statehood.
And
now.
And Puerto Rico, too.
Yep.
Yes.
They need the funds badly to recover from the hurricane, and they can't get them unless they become a state. And of course, the same things for Puerto Rico too is for DC. Even though I don't think Puerto Rico is as overwhelmingly democratic as DC is, but they don't want to give that up. And of course, let's be honest too, we know a lot of conservatives don't want DC to be a statehood for, I'm sure you know, a specific reason for both of them, don't you?
Yep.
It begins with the R word and has an ist at the end. I think you know what that is.
Yep.
So yeah, let DC be a statehood, and I'm sure, unfortunately, it failed, but we gotta keep trying. They need to be a state eventually. And I'm sure there's a lot of things too that DC's also having problems with funding too, like Puerto Rico's having, that they can't get without being a state. Alright, so anything else want to talk about this topic or anything else really quickly? Because I gotta get going. What'd you say?
Not really.
You, Harry?
No.
Alright, so we'll wrap up here. We had a whole bunch of topics we got to talk about soon, but we haven't got enough time to do them, so hopefully in another week or two, we'll get to the rest of them. So see you guys next time.
Shiny Sammy Studios out.